Welcome to the channel. This is your space for growth, clarity, and real change. If you're ready to break old patterns, build a stronger mindset, and become the best version of yourself, you're in the right place. Tonight, before you sleep, write one sentence 9 times. This isn't magic, and it won't make you rich overnight. But there's a reason this simple 3-6-9 method keeps showing up. Not because it creates money instantly, but because it changes how you think about it. Because most people don't have a money problem, they have a pattern problem. This is the story of someone who felt completely stuck until one small daily habit started changing everything. No hype, no shortcuts, just a simple method that slowly builds clarity, discipline, and control. If you've ever felt stuck with money, watch this carefully, because this might change how you approach it forever. There was a time when Ria felt stuck, not just financially, but mentally. Every month felt the same. Money came in, and somehow it disappeared just as quickly. Bills, expenses, unexpected costs, and no matter how hard she worked, it never felt like enough. Ria wasn't careless with money. She tried to save, she tried to plan, but something always went wrong. An extra bill, a delayed payment, a small emergency, and slowly, her confidence started fading, not just in money, but in herself. One night, sitting alone, she had a thought she couldn't ignore. Why does money feel so difficult for me? It wasn't anger. It was confusion, because she saw others doing well, growing, saving, investing. And she wondered, what am I missing? A few days later, scrolling through her phone, she came across something new. A simple idea. The 369 method. Write your intention. 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, 9 times at night. At first, she didn't take it seriously. It sounded too simple, too easy, but something about it stayed in her mind. Her logical mind questioned it. How can writing something change anything? But another part of her said, you've tried everything else. And that was true. Budgeting apps, strict saving plans, extra hours of work. Nothing felt stable. So she thought, what if I just try it for a few days? No expectations, no pressure. Just try. The next morning, she took a notebook, sat quietly, and wrote, I am building better financial habits and attracting stable income. Once, then again, and again, 3 times. It felt strange, almost pointless, but she continued. Afternoon, 6 times. Night, 9 times. And that was it. No magic, no instant change. Just words on paper. Nothing external happened that day, but something subtle shifted inside. She became aware of her thoughts, aware of her habits, aware of how she spoke about money. She noticed something surprising. Her thoughts about money were negative. Money is always tight. I can't afford this. I never have enough. She had been repeating these every day. Without realizing, that's when it clicked. She was already doing a method, just not intentionally. Repeating limiting beliefs 3 times. 6 times, 9 times, all day. and those thoughts were shaping her actions. The 369 method wasn't magic. It was direction, a way to guide her thoughts, instead of letting them run freely. So she continued. Day 2, Day 3, Day 4, same words, but this time with more attention. By the end of the week, she noticed something. Her decisions were changing, small ones, but important. She paused before spending. She tracked where money went. She planned better, not forced, just natural. The words she wrote were starting to influence her actions, and her actions started influencing her results. Not dramatically, but gradually. She didn't expect money to appear instantly. She understood something important. Writing alone doesn't create money, but it creates clarity, and clarity leads to better choices. One evening, after writing her 9 lines, she paused and thought, this isn't about attracting money. It's about becoming someone who manages it better. And that thought changed everything. Some days, she felt motivated. Some days, she didn't. But she kept going. Not perfectly, but consistently. And that made the difference. Ria didn't become rich overnight. Nothing dramatic happened. But something had started. A shift in thinking. A shift in behavior. A shift in control. And sometimes, that's where real change begins. The second week didn't feel as exciting. The novelty had faded. The notebook was still there. The words were still the same, but the feeling was different. One morning, as Raya picked up her pen, a thought appeared. Is this even working? It wasn't loud, but it stayed, because nothing dramatic had changed. Her income was the same. Her expenses were still there. Life looked normal. She realized something important, part of her expected quick results. A sudden opportunity, a surprise payment, something big. But that wasn't happening, and that made her question everything. That afternoon, while writing her 6 lines, she paused, and instead of rushing, she read what she wrote. I am building better financial habits and attracting stable income. This time, she asked herself, am I actually doing this? Not just writing it, but living it. The answer was, not fully. Yes, she was more aware, but she still had old habits. Small impulse spending, ignoring some expenses, avoiding financial planning when it felt uncomfortable. And that's when she understood. Writing creates awareness, but action creates results. So she made a change. She didn't change the method. She changed her approach. After writing each line, she added one question. What is one small action I can take today? Just one. Some days it was simple. Track expenses. Avoid unnecessary spending. Review subscriptions. Other days, it was slightly harder. Learning something new. Understanding budgeting. Exploring ways to improve income. Nothing overwhelming. Just one step. At first, it didn't feel significant, but over days, those small actions added up. She started seeing patterns, where money was going, where she could improve, where she was losing control, and slowly, she started fixing it. Then came a day she didn't write. Morning was rushed. Afternoon was busy. Night felt exhausting, and she skipped it. At first, it felt like failure. The old pattern returned. You're not consistent. This won't work. You always stop. But this time, she didn't restart everything. She didn't quit. She simply said, "I'll continue tomorrow." And she did. That moment changed everything. Consistency wasn't about being perfect. It was about not quitting. Even after missing a day, even after feeling doubt, her thoughts about money were changing. Earlier, money is stressful. Now, money needs attention. Earlier, I don't have enough. Now, I can manage this better. Same situation, different mindset. By the middle of the second week, something small but real happened. She saved money, not a huge amount. But for the first time, it felt intentional, not accidental, not left over, planned. And that feeling was powerful. It wasn't about the amount. It was about control, because for the first time, she felt like she was directing her money, not the other way around. She started noticing opportunities, not magical ones, practical ones, ways to reduce costs, ways to improve efficiency, ways to use her time better. And this awareness came from focus. The 369 method became more than writing. It became a daily check-in. Morning, set intention. Afternoon, stay aware. Night, reflect. And this rhythm created structure. She didn't ignore reality. She still had bills, still had responsibilities. But now, she approached them differently, with planning, with calm, with clarity. One unexpected expense came up. Earlier, this would have caused stress, panic, but this time, she paused, looked at her finances, adjusted, handled it, not perfectly, but calmly, and that was growth. One night, after writing her 9 lines, she thought, this method doesn't bring money directly, it changes how I think about it. And that change was already improving her life. Week 2 didn't bring big results, but it built something stronger. Discipline, awareness, consistency, and those always come before success. Rhea still wasn't where she wanted to be, but she was no longer stuck. She was moving, slowly, steadily, intentionally, and sometimes that's the biggest step. By the 3rd week, Rhea didn't feel stuck anymore. She wasn't fully confident yet, but she wasn't confused either. There was direction now. The biggest change wasn't external, it was internal. She no longer ignored money. She faced it. Every morning, when she wrote her 3 lines, she wasn't just repeating words, she was setting intent. And that intent started guiding her day. Her 369 method evolved. Morning, 3 times. Clear intention. Afternoon, 6 times. Awareness check. Night, 9 times. Reflection. And after each session, she still asked, what is one action I can take today? That question became powerful because it forced clarity. Her actions improved, not dramatically, but consistently. She reduced unnecessary expenses, planned her weekly budget, started noting patterns in spending, and most importantly, she stopped avoiding financial reality. One afternoon, while writing, she paused and thought, What if I can increase my income too? Earlier, this thought felt overwhelming. Now, it felt possible. She didn't jump into big risks. She started small, learning, exploring, understanding where she could improve. Skills she already had, skills she could build. Nothing rushed, just curiosity. Her mornings now included learning. 20-30 minutes, focused, no distractions. She explored topics related to career growth, side income ideas, financial literacy, and slowly, her confidence increased. Something interesting started happening. The more she learned, the more ideas she had, the more actions she took. And the more actions she took, the better her results became. This was momentum. There was still no sudden money flow, no instant breakthrough, but there was progress, clear, measurable, real. One day, an opportunity came, not out of nowhere, but from something she had been working on. A small project, something she wouldn't have noticed before, but now she was ready. She took it. The amount wasn't huge, but it was different, because this time it came from intention, from preparation, from action, and that made it meaningful. That moment changed her belief, not in the method alone, but in herself. I can improve my situation, that thought replaced. I'm stuck. And that shift was powerful. Her awareness expanded further. She started noticing ways to save more, ways to earn more, ways to improve efficiency. Not because the world changed, but because she did. Her mindset evolved. Earlier, how do I survive this month? Now, how do I improve next month? Earlier, I don't have enough. Now, how can I create more? And that difference changed her actions. The 369 method played a key role, not because it created money directly, but because it reinforced focus every single day. Morning, afternoon, night. Her mind stayed aligned, and alignment created consistency. One evening, she felt tired, mentally drained. She looked at her notebook and thought, do I really need to keep doing this? It felt repetitive, almost unnecessary. But then she remembered, before this, she had no direction, no structure, no awareness. Now, she had all three. So she continued, not because it was exciting, but because it was working. That moment taught her something important. You don't continue because you feel like it. You continue because it matters. And that's what builds results. She started tracking her progress weekly. Simple notes, expenses, savings, income, learnings. And for the first time, she could see improvement, not just feel it. 3 weeks ago, she felt stuck. Now, she felt in control. Not perfect, but progressing. And progress is what creates confidence. One night, after writing her 9 lines, she realized, the method isn't changing my life, my actions are. And the method was guiding those actions. Momentum doesn't come from one big action. It comes from small actions, repeated daily. And now, she had momentum. Ria still had goals ahead, still had challenges, but she was no longer guessing. She was building, step by step, with clarity, with discipline, with purpose. By the 4th week, Ria's life didn't look dramatically different from the outside. Same job, same routine, same responsibilities. But internally, everything had changed. For the first time in a long time, her finances felt stable, not perfect, but predictable. She knew where her money was going, how much she could save, what she needed to improve, and that clarity removed a lot of stress. Earlier, money felt unpredictable. Now, it felt manageable because she had built systems, simple ones, tracking, planning, reviewing, nothing complex, just consistent. Every week, she reviewed her progress. No judgment, just awareness. What worked, what didn't, what to improve. And that habit kept her moving forward. One afternoon, a colleague mentioned a new role opening. Earlier, she might have ignored it, doubted herself. But now, she paused and thought, why not try? She applied, not with pressure, but with preparation. Her mornings had already built confidence. Her learning had improved her skills, and that preparation showed. During the conversation, she felt calm, clear, present, not overthinking, just focused. And that made a difference. Through all this, she didn't stop the 369 method. It remained her anchor. Morning intention, afternoon awareness, night reflection. Simple, but powerful. Waiting for results brought some anxiety. What if I don't get it? What if I'm not ready? But instead of spiraling, she wrote, same lines, same focus, and it grounded her. Something deeper was happening. She wasn't just improving financially, she was improving emotionally. More patient, more focused, more resilient, and that affected everything. She communicated better, less stress, less frustration, more clarity, and people noticed. Not because she said anything, but because her energy changed. Her savings grew, not dramatically, but consistently. And that consistency built trust in herself. I can manage this. I can improve this. I can grow. Those thoughts became normal. One evening, while reviewing her notes, she noticed something. Her progress didn't come from one big decision. It came from many small ones. Daily, repeated. The method wasn't magic. It didn't create money out of nothing, but it did something important. It kept her focused, every day, without fail, and that focus led to better actions. A few days later, she received a message about the opportunity. She paused before opening it, took a breath, and then read it. She got it. There was no loud celebration, no dramatic reaction, just a quiet moment of realization. This happened because I changed, not luck, not chance, but consistent effort. She remembered where she started, confused, stressed, uncertain, and now clear, calm, in control. Same person, different mindset, different actions. Money was no longer a source of fear. It became a responsibility, something to manage, something to grow. And that shift changed her relationship with it. She didn't feel rich, but she felt capable. And capability is the foundation of growth. Rhea didn't reach the end of her journey, but she reached a turning point. From confusion to clarity, from stress to stability, from doubt to confidence. And it all started with one small decision to focus. Every day, months passed. What started as a simple experiment had now become a part of Rhea's life. Not just the writing, but the thinking behind it. Her life didn't suddenly become perfect. She still had responsibilities, still had bills, still had challenges. But now, she handled them differently, with calm, with clarity, with confidence. Money was no longer stressful, it was structured. She knew how much she earned, how much she spent, how much she could save. And that knowledge gave her control. Her income improved over time, not overnight, but steadily, because she kept learning, kept improving, kept taking small actions. The biggest change wasn't financial, it was mental. Earlier, fear, confusion, avoidance. Now, awareness, planning, action. And that shift changed everything. She still used the method, but differently. Not just repeating words, but aligning them with action. Morning, set direction. Afternoon, stay aware. Night, reflect and improve. Simple, but powerful. She understood something clearly now. The method didn't create results on its own. It supported focus, and focus guided behavior, and behavior created results. One day, a friend asked her, "How did you improve your situation?" Rhea paused and said something simple. "I started paying attention every day." She explained the 369 method, but she also added, "It's not about writing, it's about what you do after writing." She didn't promise quick results. She didn't say it would work for everyone the same way, because she knew everyone's situation is different, but the principle remains useful. Focus, consistency, action. She thought about everything: the doubt, the missed days, the small wins, the slow progress. And she realized every step mattered, even the difficult ones. Change doesn't happen in one moment. It happens in many small moments. When you choose to continue, when you choose to improve, when you choose to stay consistent. One morning, sitting quietly, notebook in hand, she wrote her lines again. But this time, she smiled, because now she understood. The 369 method didn't change her life. It changed how she think and act every day, and that changed everything else. If you're watching this and you feel stuck, start small, not with big expectations, not with pressure, just with awareness. Write your intention, morning, afternoon, night, and after writing, take one small action, then repeat, because real change doesn't come from one big step. It comes from many small steps, taken consistently. This method is not a guarantee of financial results. It's a tool to improve focus, habits, and decision-making. Your outcomes will depend on your actions, effort, and individual circumstances. Every day, you are already repeating something in your mind. The question is it helping you or holding you back? Choose your focus carefully, because over time, it shapes your life. If this story helped you, start today. Not perfectly, just intentionally. And if you want more content like this, subscribe and continue your journey. Because progress starts with awareness.